In the time of uncertainties, it is becoming more and more crucial to understand the flow of how the world is changing. One of the most discussed topics that the economists are trying to forecast is whether or not there will be inflation. Recently, a shocking news came up in the US that the key index that indicates inflation rose 3.1% in April of 2021 compared to April of last year. This index is called Personal Consumption Expenditures, and this measures how much consumers are spending for a period of time. For example, let's say there is a world where you can only buy burgers. If you bought 10 burgers, which is worth $10 last year, your total spending last year was $100. But then, if the price of burger increased to $10.30 this year, and you bought the same number of burgers as last year, which is 10, you spent $103 this year. There is 3% increase in PCE compared to last year. Usually, the Fed would do something when the PCE index is higher than 2%, assuming that there is a possibility of an inflation. And many economists were worried that the inflation, and in fact hyperinflation, might be coming because too much money has been printed, and this means people's buying power or people's demand to buy is way over the supply of goods. When there is lack of supply while there is too much demand, it's most likely that the price of goods will increase, leading to inflation. For this reason, many people were worried about too much money being printed, and now we're seeing 3.1% increase in PCE index that is used to predict inflation. So, people are shocked and concerned that inflation really is coming. Now the question is this increase in PCE index happening solely because of the inflation or not? Thinking about this is very important because this abnormal figure might be showing as we are comparing this year's consumption data to last year, April, which was the month where the nation was pretty much locked down. But it seems like the Fed is admitting that there is inflation in the current market. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is telling Americans that the current higher inflation rates will last for another several months, but will be temporary. So temporary, eh? Does this mean the price of goods that rose will come back to lower price after some months? Or does this mean that the inflation rate after a few months will slow down? The term is a little ambiguous, but I hope that, as Secretary Yellen says, this phenomenon of inflation will be just temporary. According to Aneta Markowska, who is an economist at Jefferies Group, points out that declining retail inventories could push prices higher, meaning that there is lack of supply of goods currently at the market, probably because of COVID. A lot of businesses closed down. Also, she adds that a transition in consumer spending from goods to services ultimately should pull inflation pressures lower. Well, hair salons, hotels, restaurants, recreation, etc. are all services. And during the pandemic, a lot of service jobs were lost. So there must be lack of supply in services as well, possibly leading to inflation. And I am looking at the Canadian data, so American data might be different. There could be still a lot of services left in America. So it seems like the Fed is thinking that this phenomenon of inflation will only be temporary and will slow down as the supply chain comes back on the track. And it seems like the Fed is not considering that too much money being printed is the cause of inflation, as there is a rumor that a fourth stimulus check might be coming up. If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. So far, it was Future Analyst.